Hi, friends. Welcome back. We're here to do our third read of our story of the week, If You Could Go to Antarctica. As always, focus your attention, concentrate, use your eyes, ears, and brain, and ignore distractions. As we get started, the question I'd like you to think about is, what would you like to do on an Antarctic adventure?
If You Could Go to Antarctica by Faye Robinson. If you could go to Antarctica, you'd probably leave from the tip of South America. You'd travel for days in a boat over rough, stormy seas. Antarctica is a huge continent at the South Pole.
Friends, what kind of transportation would you have to take to get to Antarctica? Definitely a boat, because you'd have to cross over all of those oceans. What do you think this trip would be like? Do you think it would be an easy trip or a challenging trip? I think it would be a long, challenging trip.
If you could go to Antarctica, you'd have to be ready for cold, cold weather. It almost never gets warmer than 32 degrees Fahrenheit. In your thickest winter coat, you'd probably still shiver. Antarctica is the coldest place on Earth.
Readers, what do you think it would be like to live in Antarctica? Yes, you might have said something like it would be so hard to live there because of how cold it is all the time. And you probably couldn't go outside very much. Also, there's no places to play or shop there.
If you could go to Antarctica, you would find snow and ice that almost never melts. On the shore near the sea, the wind can blow 50 miles per hour for weeks at a time.
Readers, what is the wind like in Antarctica? Yes, the wind blows hard and often, a lot of the time. What do you think that does to the temperature? Do you think it lowers it, makes it feel colder? Definitely. I know here in Chicago, when we have super windy days, it always feels colder. So I can imagine that that's what it would be like in Antarctica.
If you could go to Antarctica, you might see chunks of snowy ice breaking off, falling into the sea. These floating shapes are called icebergs. They crash like thunder as they split from the ice shelf.
Readers, what do you think the icebergs do to the water they float in? So think about an ice cube. And what does an ice cube do to your drink? Yes, it makes it colder. So what do you think all of these icebergs floating in the ocean do to the water there? If you said it makes it colder, give your brain a kiss. Yes, makes the ocean so cold, like an ice bath. Can you imagine going swimming in there? Me either.
If you could go to Antarctica, you might see penguins. Penguins gather in huge groups to lay their eggs and raise their chicks.
Readers, why do penguins gather in these large groups? Yes, good listening. To lay their eggs and raise their chicks. And do you see the little picture in the corner? It's a child about your size. And do you see the penguins next to her? One of the penguins is almost the same height as they are. And then we've got a little tiny penguin there. Can you imagine being surrounded by penguins that were as tall as you? That would be a little strange.
If you could go to Antarctica, you would see that penguins don't fly. They zoom through the water as fast as cars. Thick layers of oily feathers keep the cold water away. Penguins slide across the ice on their bellies.
Readers, what makes penguins different from most other birds? Readers, most other birds can fly. Do penguins fly? No, they don't. But they do slide on the ice on their bellies. Why do you think they do that? You might have said it makes them move faster. And maybe it's easier for them to move on the ice because ice is really slippery. So they use the slippery ice to zoom past into the water.
If you could go to Antarctica, you might see seals. Seals live in the ice-cold waters. A thick layer of fat called blubber keeps them warm. Seals have large eyes, which allows them to see above and below water. Seals come to land or solid ice to have their pups. Mothers must teach their pups to swim.
Readers, as we just heard, seals swim in that icy cold water. How do they stay warm? What do they have on their bodies? Yes, that thick layer of fat. It's called blubber. And all of that blubber keeps their bodies super warm. Think about your warmest winter coat. That's like what a seal has all over their body. What is it called? Blubber. That's right.
If you could go to Antarctica, you might see whales lunging up from the water. Many whales visit the Antarctic in the summer. Humpback whales are huge but acrobatic animals. They can be 50 feet long as a tractor trailer, but they can throw their bodies completely out of the water.
Wow. Readers, think about whales, seals, and penguins. How are these three animals alike? They do move quickly in the water, and their bodies are similar. What's similar? How are their bodies alike? You might have said flippers. That's right. Seals, whales, and penguins all have flippers to help them move through the water quickly. And their bodies have these smooth curves that help them move through the water.
In some places along the coast, eat plants. To Antarctica. If you could go to Antarctica, you might not see any plants. Most plants can't grow in the snow. In some places along the coast, where the snow melts, green mats of moss and grass sprout from the rocks.
Readers, why do you think most plants cannot grow in Antarctica? You might have said because it's too cold. We know plants need warm places with sunshine. Yes, in order to grow, and Antarctica is so cold, it doesn't get a lot of sunshine, and it has a lot of snow and ice. I know lots of plants can't grow in snow and ice.
If you could go to Antarctica, you might see scientists at work. They are the only people in Antarctica. They are studying the unusual plants, animals, and weather.
Readers, what do scientists study in Antarctica? What are they there to learn? The animals, they study the animals, and the weather, because it has very interesting weather, and they study any plants that may be growing there, because those plants don't grow anywhere else in the world.
If you could go to Antarctica, you would see icebergs as big as forests, white fields of snow, and huge waves crashing into sheets of ice. Antarctica is the perfect home for a few amazing plants and animals. Would you visit if you could?
Readers, into what group could we put icebergs, snow, and water? What do they all have in common? Readers, into what group could we put icebergs, snow, and water? Icebergs, snow, and water are all wet. Do you agree? Yes, they are all wet things. And let's see what else. Icebergs, snow, and water in Antarctica are all cold things. So we have wet, cold, and icebergs, snow, and water. Are they alive or not alive? Not alive. Good. So we could put them in three groups. Icebergs, snow, and water are cold, wet, and not alive, friends. Friends, we've come to the end of our story. What kinds of things could you do in Antarctica? Would you want to visit? Thanks for being here with me today, friends. Remember, stay healthy, helpful, and calm. See you soon. Bye-bye.